mentioned the other day that the difference between Joe Scarborough and Tucker Carlson is probably best summed up by the words 5 years in terms of difference in age, 6 years. And maybe, to be fair, Tucker may be in line to be bequeathed hundreds of millions of dollars, where Joe just has tens of millions of dollars from his job.
And I'd say Tucker Carlson's haircut's like 5% preppier.
Yeah, there you go. Here is there's a report that everybody's talking about. 10 steaks were stolen from a Trader's Joe in New York City.
Like steaks in the company?
No. Steaks you actually eat.
Meat.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know if I feel safe going into a TJ's anymore.
I'm a little nervous about that.
Steak burglar.
Yeah. And
the Hamburglar, obviously
it's upgraded,
right? It's more high end now.
Here is this is just play the clip.
It is true that people are just walking in and walking out with it.
No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you go to a local pharmacy, Dwayne Reed or Rite Aid, any of them, and you've got to get someone to help assist you. I mean, they have the little button there. Yep. You hit the buzzer, and the guy comes over and unlocks your toothpaste. Yes. I mean, we're talking about basic stuff.
As well.
What did I miss that we now have to lock up toothpaste?
Yeah, I'm just curious, Rev, really quickly. I mean, Eric Adams has said he's going to do his best to fix this. I'm just curious. I mean, he's got a governor who's saying, well, I don't know that we want to give the judges any power to make decisions on whether they've seen the same bad guy in front of them like 12 times in the past week. And then you've got a DA. I know you talked to the DA. The DA's going, oh, we don't want to punish anybody unless it's like really bad. So, yeah, you can steal whatever you want to steal. And, yeah, we won't do any jail time. And then you've got... then you've got a woke city council. I'm just curious, is Eric Adams going to be able to do anything? Well, he's obviously surrounded by elected officials who want New York to remain chaotic.
Well, I think he's got a challenge there because there is a debate in the criminal justice system, and there are those that are concerned, including me, about overloading the system and the jails with petty crimes. But at the same time, you cannot have a culture where people are just at random, just robbing and stealing, and is out of control and is put on the front page of newspapers, which only encourages others to do it. In fairness to Eric, he's only been mayor 5 weeks. But but even as unfair to him, Eric, they're locking up my toothpaste.
Okay, let's. I mean, this is just so. First off, to hear Joe Scarborough talk about it, this is a problem just in New York City, and to hear Joe Scarborough talk about it, when is our government going to arrest people who are stealing toothpaste? And let's be clear, the rise in shoplifting has been attributed to the fact that organized crime gangs know that they can resell this stuff online. This is the world that we live in now. Those steaks are an anomaly. That's somebody who probably doesn't have the money to afford steak.
They want food. I mean, they're calling for more Inspector Javerts in New York City, basically.
This has been going on. This is, parts of the cost of doing business is shoplifting and loss, as it were. And you could hire more people to work in your stores so that there's more people around. You could do that. Like, Dwayne Reed has decided that it is cheaper for them to hire less people working at the store than it is to install plexiglass, not in front of toothpaste, but wherever, the things that are commonly stolen. And those things that are commonly stolen are undoubtedly being resold online. And the idea that either A, we should be deploying more resources, public resources, because Walgreens doesn't want to hire more people at their store, that we have to subsidize
Which they already write those losses.
Of course. The idea that we have to subsidize their cutting back on staff so that they can save money on toothpaste. I'm sorry, that should not be the function of the public. And I love the idea that now we're supposed to legislate, culture. Like this is a cultural problem as opposed to like, you want to talk about a cultural problem? How about the culture? If you want to expend public resources to deal with a cultural problem, how about the trillions of dollars that we lose over the course of any given couple of years in taxes that are not paid by wealthy people? Let's start there instead of us subsidizing Walgreens not hiring enough people so that they don't have to worry about putting their toothpaste behind a plastic container.
And even if we concede the fact that, like, yes, these are poor people stealing basic necessities that they may need, like toothpaste or food or deodorant or soap, right? Like, and I'm sure that's some of it too. The problem here is the poverty and the fact that we have made a decision as a society that there are certain people who we're just going to throw to the wolves. And that is the problem. Well, but for these whiners on MSNBC, it's the issue for them. It's like, I doubt for a second that petty crime has affected any of their lives at all, from their SUV that takes them from their Upper East Side apartment down to the MSNBC studios and back. Do you think that they really have been affected by this? No, they're inconvenienced because sometimes, and I've experienced this too, it's traumatic. Sometimes when I press the button to buy my shampoo, the person at Duane Reade doesn't come right away.
That's because Duane Reade doesn't want to spend the money on having another person in there.
I have to wait and press the button again.
And like, what is the culture? Like, what has changed? Is it maybe that there's a giant pandemic that has decimated the economy and thrown a lot of people out of work, and then you've decided that we're going to reinstitute evictions while we get rid of unemployment insurance? Like, what kind of desperation is driving the fact that you can all of a sudden you need people to look to the black market to supply their detergent and toothpaste needs?
Well, I think that's. I mean, I think the real fundamental change that has taken place, because the numbers in 2019 were actually worse than they are today in terms of shoplifting, to the extent that, better, worse, more dramatic, is that there's an easier way for organized crime to sell this stuff. And the problem is, again, are we really going to expend public resources to catch every person who goes in and steals 5 things of toothpaste at any given store? It doesn't make any sense. It makes a lot more sense for Walgreens, if they feel like the 5 things of toothpaste that are being stolen is important to them, to hire more personnel, security, or just people working, at the place, to be walking the aisles and maybe helping people, so that it's harder to steal these things. I mean, it's just absurd.
Yeah, there's this article in Jalopnik from earlier in January 24th this year. Union Pacific train theft started right around the time it laid off thousands of workers. So basically,
what?
Right? And other trains in LA. There's all these stories going on about these train robberies. It's like, look at, society is just crumbling. And it turns out like these companies are trying to capitalize on the sort of reaction against defund to make the cops be their security. Yeah. So hire more cops and put them in my Walgreens so I don't need to hire them myself.
And we should also add that if there is a cultural problem too, it may be the fact that all of the resources of our society are basically being upwardly distributed, and that may be pissing people off. That may also be a cultural problem.
We already lock up more human beings than any country on earth, and we particularly arrest and lock up black people at a higher rate than apartheid South Africa. So maybe more cops and more arrests isn't the solution.